A beautiful day to get this thing back on the road permanently. You gotta be kidding me. Okay. It's not all doom and gloom in the Milo's Motors garage, though. All things considered, this bike has done really, really good on the break-in. My brother took it, and he's ridden about 260, 270 miles at this point. Brought it back in the garage, had it sit for a day or two, came back in, and we got coolant underneath it. During the initial startup phase when I was diagnosing and trying to get this thing to actually turn over, there were a couple coolant drops underneath it coming from the front coolant pipe where it hooks onto the front of the head. I tightened one of the bolts. It was just coming from one of the corners, so I tightened the bolt ever so slightly. It stopped dripping, but now it's still leaking a little bit. So plan today was to just service it and get it back on the road so you can keep riding it. But now I am going to figure out what needs to be done to seal that coolant leak. Might be a new gasket, might be some gasket maker. We'll see. Before this thing got torn down for the rebuild, he had an oil leak that would come from the clutch side when it was on its side stand. We thought that it was from the stator cover and the stator wire that comes out. So as part of the rebuild process, I resealed that, put some silicone on the wire, and we were good for a while. But a couple days ago when he put it on the side stand, we noticed a drop or two of oil on the ground, and I looked in the engine case, like between the cylinder and the starter motor, and there's like this rubber thing. It looks like a starter seal or something came out. That's the best way I can describe it right now, even though I never touched the starter and it probably hasn't moved for a while, I assume, because starters don't go out all that often on these bikes, I don't think. But quite strange. So today I'm going to dig into the coolant leak and the oil leak, show you guys what we find there. Hopefully it's interesting. Let's go. Looking at the coolant leak first, it is coming from the same pipe that I mentioned earlier that was slightly dripping on the first couple startups. See if you can see it. You can see the blue coolant coming from right up in this area, accumulating right there. On this side, not as much, but still coming from that bolt. And that's just right up front. Since our issue got worse, instead of staying on one bolt, now it's on two. Kind of looks like it's coming from above the bolts now. Sure, maybe I could tighten it up a little more, see if I get lucky. But with that other oil leak being present, I'm just gonna go ahead and order another gasket for it. Do it right the first time so I don't have to drain the coolant multiple times. So let's jump into that starter and see what the hell that strange rubber piece is. Easily the worst part about all of this is the fact that I have to take the airbox off and the throttle bodies off to get to the starter how I need to. This is because the mat that goes over the whole engine that controls heat distribution, I'll show you when I get there, that mat is locked in there basically with the throttle bodies, so the only way to get the mat out is to take the throttle bodies out. It's so much fun. Over the years, I really found an understanding that no matter how well you do on a project, there are always going to be follow-up repairs and just little stuff that you have to do to make the build complete. Recognizing that, accepting it, and rolling with it is what sets you apart from others that are trying to do the same sort of thing. Others that build something, give up, and then list it on Facebook Marketplace for way more than it should be. This is so real though. People that post on Facebook Marketplace are literally drunk. Your WRX STI that has a blown motor is not worth $9,000. But I get it. I understand the frustration. It's hard not to get frustrated after you've spent so much time on something and you put it back together and things just come up. You want to believe that the last step is the last step, but it's never really over. It would be way too easy if it were like that. And now, throttle bodies can come off. Let's unplug the harness first. any other hoses or anything connected to it. Got these plugs up here. Now comes the fun part for these throttle bodies. I have to get in the side here to get the clamps that hold the throttle bodies into the little rubber, like, what would you call that, plenum? The little rubber things that the throttle bodies go into. Have to loosen those clamps to get them out. I could just unbolt the rubber boots from the head itself, but even when the motor was out, that didn't work very well, so BRB. All right, got the clamps off. Now I'm trying to wiggle this thing out enough to have some room. This thing is quite tight in there, that's for certain. It's a whole lot easier to take this thing out when the motor is out. There we go. Since the throttle bodies are far enough out of the way now that I can get this insulation mat out and see what I need to see, at least I think so, I'm gonna leave the throttle bodies kind of just floating, because the way that they put these throttle cables on there kind of sucks. Don't really want to mess with them. Call me lazy, call me smart, who gives a shit? Onward and upward. Actually, Bungie, never heard of her. Haha! Sometimes laziness pays off. Tip of the day. Pull this mat out. I'm gonna take it like this. So this is what we were after to get this back here. Pull it out here. The corner tabs did rip off at some point. Oh, I guess that one didn't. I thought it had. Huh. Tripping. Anyway, makes it easier for me. Pull this up. Let me get a good angle on this starter. So after further investigation, it does look like a seal on that starter blew out. I'm going to remove it and show you exactly what it looks like, because it's super hard to see right now. Damn near impossible with this camera. So let me pull that starter. Got the starter out. Really wasn't too bad. Just kind of hard to get on camera. It was in this, cavern. Had to wiggle it out, pull it up this way, and now we got it. And as you can see, that seal just went, nope, I'm not having a good time anymore. I'm done, actually. So I'm not sure if Yamaha sells starter rebuild kits for this, or if we're looking at replacing the whole starter. That would really suck, because the thing still works perfect. It's just that seal is gone. So now I gotta go dig for parts. It's a week later. We got seals. Luckily, Yamaha did sell these separate. They were just on back order everywhere, and I was able to find them on eBay, hence being a week later. So let's go ahead and put these seals in. Hoping this is as simple as it looks. So as you heard, my mic decided to get possessed by a demon. Anyway, I'll do a voiceover here. Just pop the starter apart, cleaned everything up. Nothing was looking crazy in there. So that was good. Pop the new seals on. That end went in real easy. This side, not so much. It had 4 little prongs that you had to expand as you pressed in. So I had to get a little creative. I know what we're gonna do. Those are what's holding me up. I'm gonna try just taking the post out and taking this inside all the way out. The innards all the way out. See what that does for us. Hopefully it produces a good result. Screw this guy off. I hope that this thing just pushes through. Haha, it does. Okay. Easy enough then. Just take this out, push our guys out of the way. If I can. There we go. Bingo. Now we're good. Go ahead and go back in here. Stick the post up in there. There we go. That be what we're looking for, boy. Washer's going back on. Spin this nut down. Sweet. Run these in real quick. Final tighten by hand, of course. Of course. Excellent. Let's go put it on the bike. Alright, starter's in, throttle bodies are back on. Now we just gotta, now the tank can go on. And the seat while we're at it, I guess. Sweet! Now it is time to address the last point of leakage, that front coolant pipe. So I'm gonna take some of the fairings off, drain the coolant, we'll replace that, get this thing up and running once again. So I went ahead and I unbolted this lower fairing just so I could pull it out of the way enough to get to the drain bolt. On the R1, on this particular motor, it is on the left side on a lower coolant pipe. It's pretty obvious, not hard to find. Drain that, spilled some, on to the next. Alright, so there is the front coolant pipe. I'm not going to be able to get a wonderful angle on this just because I'm not going to take the exhaust off. Not worth it. So what we're going to do first is take off this radiator support right here. Alright, bolts off. Now there are 3 8mm, you can see one right there. 3 8mm bolts, one on the side, another one on the other side, and then one at the top. We'll just unbolt all 3 and get the gasket out. Top bolt out. Yeah, there we go. Holy crap. There we go. Got it loose. Bringing it out now. Sorry that the lighting isn't great, so you can't really see it. I hope this doesn't pour coolant everywhere. Probably get the drain just in case. Alright, all 3 bolts are out now. Let's try and... I think what I'm going to do is I'll take this hose clamp off, pull this out so I can actually get it outside of the bike. Such a dumb angle. Got it. I think I'm going to put the top bolt back in just a little bit to make my life a bit easier. Trying to get that hose off. Should have thought about that before, but whatever. Coming at it with my pick. I'm going to try and pull it off. Come on. Gosh, give me a sec. Alright, that was lame, but we got it out. So that's the gasket that we're gonna be replacing. Got a new one in. OEM, of course. There's a pick to get it out. Brilliant. This one is just straight up circular. Let's make sure that it fits. It does. Very nice. Alright, take it back out real quick. Clean this up. Alright, pretty reasonably clean. Dry this off. I think I'm going to use a little bit of this, just very small amount, just a little bit on my finger. Get it on the back side of the O-ring here. That's going to help it stick into here better. Then I'm going to put another little dab on the part that will actually be against the head. Cool. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and slap this back on. We're going to clean that gasket surface up a bit. Make sure we don't have any sort of leakage issues after this, please. Okay, looks pretty solid. I'm gonna put this guy back in there. It's getting us close. And then it drops. Alright, that was kind of a pain, but got it. So, pipe is back in there, hose is still undone. I'm gonna go ahead and put this bolt back in, tighten it up, and then tighten the 3 bolts up that hold this pipe to the head, and put the hose back on. Alright, that took way longer than I thought it would, but we're all good now. All 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts are tightened. Upper hose clamp is tightened. And went down and tightened the lower hose clamp as well, so we're good to go. Let's get this fairing back on and fill it with the coolant. Coolant is in, everything's hooked up, let's fire it up. Alright, order has been restored. Ride's great. Motor sounds awesome. Now my brother Eli can continue to break this thing in. So I'm going to keep filming content for this bike. We're not done documenting the whole series on this. It'll still be around, but that concludes today's fix it and get it back on the freaking road. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.